The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Things are about to get real in our economy here in this country. It took a major hit today all over stock market. Now the Federal Reserve is up 0.75%, the biggest jump ever since 1994. With prices already sky high, you may be wondering what's next. Experts are advising everyone to brace yourselves and their checking account for what's coming next. Take a look.
I think this dramatic course of action, which was not what was projected in the later months of 2021, they've taken a more extreme and rapid approach due to concerns about this 40-year high inflation rate, are going to really harm middle and lower income people. So regardless of partisanship, we're seeing policymakers continue all the way back during the Trump administration with the stimulus check delays to now with raising interest rates, which will make it harder for you and I to finance new vehicles. If we have a problem with our cars, it'll make it our interest rates higher on our credit cards. We may be putting more things on our credit cards because of this elevated gas and grocery bill that we're seeing each month. And so overall, what you see is that contraction in the ability of banks to borrow money translating into higher costs of borrowing, less willingness of banks to extend credit to less credit-worthy borrowers, who are the people who often need credit the most, and a general extension of the possibility of recession happening sooner than later.
Now, Dietrich, what they wanted to do here, according to the federal government, was slow down the spending and stop the inflation. But you're saying what they're going to do will eventually harm us. It will be worse. So what was their intentional plan with raising the interest rate? How would that have helped us down the road in their theory?
In their theory, they're excluding the commodity shortages and lack of sort of the overall challenges that we already see. So in their minds, there is no problem in Ukraine. There is no problem with the fuel supply, right? We've got the president going to appease Saudi Arabia now. We're trying to get on good terms with Venezuela and Iran, countries that we've historically extended sanctions to. And in this sort of vacuum, the increase of interest rates would have dampened consumer confidence and restricted our spending, encouraging U.S. Americans to save, which we typically don't do, regardless of what the interest rate says, and essentially delay the inflationary market. That is, this expansion and rapid rise of the currency available and sort of the devaluation of the U.S. currency, which also, in some ways, depending on the economist you ask, inflation is a necessary evil, and it's something that can encourage foreign markets to consume U.S. goods that might be otherwise priced out of the market. So in a vacuum, this is hitting the brakes on inflation, but it ignores many of the supply cycle issues that we've already experienced, commodity shortages, and other constraints, whether it be baby formula or beef.
And of course, we have Shad Bockety here, who's a real estate expert. Shad, what will be the impact on the real estate market?
Well, it's the kryptonite of the real estate market. Prices have been going up, but what's been offsetting that, Isaiah, is that we've had a lower interest rate. Now you got the higher prices and you've got the higher interest rates. So you're going to see first-time home buyers, as Dietrich said, the first-time home buyers and entry-level buyers and people buying on a second home are going to take the biggest hit here. And we're already seeing it with the difference in payments. Just imagine that you're building a house and your interest rate just gone on. You may not qualify. I think the market is going to go back to sellers who are going to start paying closing costs again. You're going to see builders start paying closing costs. I talked to some lenders today. They were telling me that regardless what rate they give you, they have points on those rates. So if the average home price in Houston is $450 right now. So if you got a $450 and you've got a 5.5 a week ago, and then 6.5, your payment just went up $275. And it's just very difficult for families to take that. And the entry level, we're even getting them, they're getting squeezed with the rental. Rents are going up. We're hearing about people raising their rents, not $100, Isaiah, but $300 and $400 that we're seeing people on renewals because they can do it. And then you've got these landlords out here who are wanting 650 and 680 credit scores, and that's squeezing again because that guy who has a 620 or 630 is kind of stuck where he's at. And so it's awful for the first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer. I think the people that have got money are going to continue to purchase. But I will say this, people who are sitting on the fence saying, well, I'm just going to wait for home prices to go down. Through the last six recessions we've had, home prices only went down twice. So I wouldn't wait on that to happen.
Now, Shad, you also said, and we recently did a story just Monday about this, where builders have canceled contracts on individuals, on families, because now the value of the house that they initially sold is higher. And
Right.
so with the increase in the rate hike in the interest rate, that would also affect that as well, right?
Yes, it would. It'd have a huge effect on those families. And builders are doing it just because they can. I had somebody the other day, the lock expired, and the builder says, your lock expired. If you still want to buy this house and your contract's expired, I'm going to charge you $30,000 more. And by the way, you're going to get a 7% interest rate. And the buyer still went ahead and bought the house.
Wow. Wow. So, Deidre, what would be the best advice for the viewer out there to prepare themselves for this? Would you say stop spending, save as much as you can? What?
Well, we know that there have already been challenges with getting appliances, new vehicles, and so forth. So if you have a need, don't wait another month to meet that need. So the first thing is, if you need it, buy it now, because we can anticipate the Fed raising interest rates regardless of consumer hardships. Beyond that, though, you're absolutely right. Start saving money. Make sure you've already been paying down those credit cards. We talked about this before on your show, that we were already telling folks in January, start paying those credit cards down if you have any. Make sure that you're looking at economical vacation sort of options. If you see that sale on Southwest, get it now, because fuel prices and other aspects are going to be in tight supply. And you know Thanksgiving comes same time every year, Christmas comes the same time every year. So start planning those things early so that you can pay them off quickly.
And Shad, what would be your advice for home buyers now?
I would try to do an FHA loan. FHA loans are not as sensitive to conventional loans when it comes to interest rates. I would be aware, I would be very cognizant with builders, because some of these builders I've just found out are qualifying people at 1.5% tax rate. We all know that's not the tax rate. So those buyers who buy those houses and get qualified at 1.5%, they may not be able to stay in those houses. And so my thing is that I would buy now. It's not going to get any better. And some of us have talked about going adjustable rate mortgages. Well, the short-term rates are just as high as the long-term rates. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they're forcing us not to buy at all. And so my feeling is that at this point is that they need to get out and purchase now. It's not going to get any better. One good thing is that if the rates go back down, they can refinance those homes.